Unveiling Africa's Payment Revolution and Navigating the Lessons of FTX's Collapse.
Okay, as I mentioned, I am your moderator, your MC. My name is Lilly Douse, and I am joined on stage by Leonard, Selassie, Soku, the general manager at OGateway company, and Omer Iqbal, the co-founder and CEO of FiveWest. Gentlemen, how are we this morning?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, yes.
Awesome. Nice to be here.
Yes, and we already had a discussion about the Arsenal match last night being a winner. So yeah, okay, well, we all care here. We're very excited here this morning. So we're having a nice little chat on stage. Why don't we start discussing the landscape of mobile payments, how it's evolved here in Africa?
All right. So I think in the last 15 years, we've seen a very, very strong rise of mobile money. I think if I'm correct, origination from Kenya has now spread across Africa everywhere. We've seen the shifts from traditional banking. I mean, 16 years ago, I don't think we ever envisioned that mobile money could be fast-paced as it is now. So it's been quite progressive and aggressive. I see the adaptation happening in various West African countries today. Some are even trying to now have, recently in Ghana, we now have MTN Momo introducing virtual cards as well. That's a very good thing. We partnered with MasterCard and Visa Card as well. So then today, with your mobile wallet, you can be able to send funds to a card that you could use to make payments online, as well as pay for your insurance, pay for your taxes, make investments with other investment houses in Ghana. So I think, yeah, we are off to a good start, and I believe that in the near future, there are many more innovative ways that more money can actually play in the space.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think the number of unbanked people in Africa, you need something like mobile money for them to be able to spend their money. So not many people have bank accounts. I think especially in the African region, even South Africa, we found a lot of internationals coming here and working, and they can't get bank accounts because it's very hard for them to get work permits. Okay. So they're essentially just pooling money into their mates' accounts or their family's accounts. So it is very nice for them to have mobile money for them to be able to spend it. And I think another way to go even further would be to allow crypto payments into a mobile wallet. And I think that's the way the world's going, and I think that's where we're going to go, especially in Africa. That's what hopefully is next. And then no one cares about Arsenal because Chelsea is the one on Monday. So I had a good night's rest last night.
Debates on stage. But yes, definitely cryptocurrency is the future in most regions, but I think here, especially in emerging markets, it has so much potential. And I'd hate mentioning anything negative, but IFX, we need to discuss it, and we need to FTX, what am I saying? FTX. So with the collapse of FTX, what can we learn from that, and how can we implement that to ensure the better future for crypto?
All right, so the FTX story is a really interesting one because I, like many other stakeholders back then, I mean, we were quite excited when things were running and everything was going smoothly till the reports about the FTT tokens owned by whatever happened, right? And I think it brought more insights to how we need to increase transparency as exchanges or as any other businesses, right? The thing that I've come to find is that when you're a young business and you have like a very innovative idea, you try to move with speed because getting your compliance checks right can actually like cause some friction in your operations, and you just want to like zoom out there, right? And I know there are various startups over here who have had that challenges with their regulators to say, oh, you know what, you can't go live, you can't do this, you can't do that, let's review your policies, let's review all that, and then it causes friction. But I mean, after the FTX collapse, I think we all got that insight to know that, you know what, let's have the correct standards in check, let's have the correct procedures, the correct policies in check, let's have an open communication with our stakeholders to let them know what we are actually doing. So I think, yeah, one thing we can learn from them is transparency. We need to be transparent. We need to have our regulators align us as to how to operate, and then align us to make sure that we're not doing anything fishy or skamish at the backgrounds. Yeah.
It's been the Wild West, right, since crypto started, and it's been a lot of different scams going around, especially for the last 2 years. You saw a lot of scams before that. So I think the regulations is a huge part to play in this, and I think that's where Africa's only starting to catch up now, and the rest of the world, because it is the Wild West. You can make your own rules, you could do whatever you want, and there was no one to really tell you what to do and how to do it. So it's not about them trying to scam the people. I think FTX was a good example of how you got away with it. But there are a lot of companies who actually do stuff and they actually don't know whether it's right or wrong. So I think regulations is a huge part to play. And FTX was a really sad story, right? It had a great UI, great interface. It was probably the best exchange for noobs, for experienced traders, for institutions to actually be trading on. Lots of volume. I think they did huge volumes. You could also trade stocks. You started to trade gold on there. So there was a lot of different innovative stuff that you could do on there, just mismanaged. And he thought he could get away with it. And yeah, it didn't. So I think regulations has a huge part to play. I think South Africa, we can speak locally here. We've just started the crypto asset service provider registrations, etc. So the authorities are looking into it, and I think it's time that we need some regulations and also some guidance, because it's hard for us to work, or especially us as FiveWest. We're also in the crypto space, so sometimes you are working and making up decisions which you don't know whether it's right or wrong. You ask the regulator and they say, we don't know. So who knows?
It's a new industry, and I think that's the really hard thing for people to understand, is when something is just coming out, and as you were saying, like, people, we don't know how to deal with it. And it's really, really difficult to set framework for something that you even might not grasp and understand. And it changes. We start with something and then you have to adapt. And I think that's going to be really important as we go into the future, is helping to educate people as well. Like, most people in the world don't really understand the simple finances in life. So let alone crypto. It's a whole different world. In this audience, how many people hold crypto out there? How many people have crypto wallets? One man. Okay, we've got a few people here. Okay, so it really is quite new here in Africa. Would you say that people are starting to buy cryptocurrencies, learn about it, or have you noticed that it's just slowly been adopted?
Look, in South Africa especially, and I think even in Kenya, Ghana, everywhere, there's a lot of cryptocurrency. People know a lot about it. There was a recent survey where they said about 70% of people have dabbled or are dabbling in crypto in South Africa alone. So a lot of people locally know about it, and a lot of people are owning it, and we see a lot of mass adoption now, especially on our exchanges, even via OTC desks. There's a lot of adoption. Also with companies actually starting to put crypto on their balance sheet, because they're starting to realize that, well, look, Bitcoin crossed $73,000 today, so it's
insane.
a good thing. Yeah.
It's insane to be on this stage right now talking about the highs of Bitcoin that's happening. Do you think that that's really going to accelerate the industry? How do you think the next year might be shaping?
Well, the Bitcoin halving soon, so I think there is no stopping it until that, at least. And then we might see the retail market panic the price down again, like they did a few years ago. So I think it mostly depends on retail. And so someone dumped 1,000 Bitcoin the other day on an exchange, right? So it dropped the price down by $8,000. And then the retail starts to panic, and then it drops the price even further. So if you are holding it, I'd say it's a good time to hold. 5 years down the line, you might be a very rich man or woman.
Exactly. I mean, it still is relatively young across the world. People are still only just acknowledging how it can be so useful. And I think we were touching on earlier here in Africa how important it can be. So why don't we explain some of the benefits that cryptocurrency could have?
All right. So the one thing I see crypto solving in my part of Africa has to do with cross-border payments today, and then also protecting yourself or safeguarding yourself against inflation of your local currency, right? Where in my part of the world, like the Ghana cedi, naira, pegged to the dollar, is very volatile, right? My neighboring country, Nigeria, I don't know if there are Nigerians in the crowd. I don't know any Nigerians here.
Any Nigerians out there? Yeah, we go.
They are
giving us heart attacks every day.
You could go ask them what the dollar is doing to their currency. It's crazy, right? So, I mean, when I discovered stable coins like USDT and the rest, I'm like, why not, peg or safeguard myself from inflation by just having some stable coins in USDT and whatnot. And I think that's how it's being utilized today, right? And then the fact that I'm able to send funds or make payments to other colleagues, suppliers outside my home country within less than 3 minutes, or if 3, 2, 1 minutes, right? And that's how it's being utilized today. I think the only main concern is not about the coin, but the platform you're going to be using for such exchanges. As we have earlier discussed, FTX, in some other countries, like the governments are quite stern on whatever exchanges are in the industry. Just recently, Nigeria had a hit with Binance, not allowing them to do P2P exchanges and whatnot. So that's where the challenges come in. But then I feel, yeah, as we continue to progress, it's really a lack of understanding by the regulators, right? I feel like we need to have more innovation departments in such governments, need to have more regulatory sandboxes to let the government try to understand what's really happening in the crypto space and how we can actually leverage on blockchain technology for even their own banking operations and whatnot, for their smart contracts and whatnot, right? But yeah, I feel like the adoption, as Omer said, is picking up. It's picking up in the African countries. I feel like 5 years from now, we'll see a very, very huge adoption in Africa.
Talking about challenges, right? So he talked about challenges from like which exchange to use. I think that's where crypto payment gateway comes in perfectly, because you can essentially spend your crypto at a local kiosk or any shop that you want to go to, any retailer, any merchant. So that's essentially what I think we need to be aimed to be doing as Africans, especially living in this continent. I think our central authority, our governments are, hate to say it, but very corrupt and very different in different countries. And a lot of trust has been going away from the governments. So that we need to take the trust back in our hands. And the only way we can do it by actually holding our coin and spending it. Because we spoke about Nigeria. Man is trading, I think, 1,600 today. Last year, I can remember it was still under 700 we were trading. And the rand last year was 13. Today it's at 19. So it's just, yeah, currencies are going to shit. And we need to be able to take control back and actually be able to spend it keeping hold of our own coin.
Yeah, I can't wait for the day that actually we're not publicizing that Bitcoin's hit these highs. We're actually just going into a shop and thinking, I'm paying for this much with this many Satoshis, because by then it's definitely going to be such small percentages we're using. But it doesn't matter what it is compared to the US dollar. It actually just matters how much of that currency you actually have. It's really key. And I think, how do you believe that we can help bring this mass adoption? I mean, here in Africa, what's the best ways? People out here that want to get involved in crypto, how can they get involved?
Okay, so I think first and foremost, before you would even seek any consultations, you need to have your own personal due diligence on what coins to actually get, what exchanges to get them on, right? To safeguard yourself first. And then I feel like you can now approach some bigger players in the industry after your due diligence, though. You know, we're not here to give financial advice, right?
Yeah, no financial advice on the
This is a big
stage.
disclaimer on my part. No financial advice, yeah. But then, yeah, I was also quite skeptical before jumping into the space. Like, how do I even get this coin? When I get in, I want my money back. Where do I exchange? Who do I sell to? But I think there's enough information out there today that can actually guide noobs into the space, right? Binance has this wonderful academy on their platform to take you through every process from uploading your fiat, exchanging for crypto, P2P transfers, or selling to a bank or whatever, right? So yeah, that's the first part. Secondly, I will hit on this point again, that regulators or the government should still try to consider having newer departments in their central banks or whatnot to try and foster innovation and try and foster the adoption of such new technologies, right? I think in Ghana 2 years ago, we had this new department in our central bank called the FinTech and Innovation Department, which is fairly new. So they are quite young men and ladies who already delve in the space and are trying to find the synergy between traditional banking, traditional methods, and then the crypto space, right? Trying to see how we can have centralized token coins as new stable coins in our local city for payments and whatnot. We just had a hackathon just somewhere last month to bring like various blockchain or Web3 developers around to try and educate the central bank on how we can stabilize or tokenize our local currency to be spent in various shops and whatnot. It's a stepping stone. We don't expect it to happen in the next 2 months or whatnot, but at least it's a progress. And I can confidently say in the next few years, this can be something that everyone can adopt. Yeah.
It's exciting times. And Omer, any closing remarks? What do you think people out here in Africa really need to understand about crypto payments and the shaping of the future?
Yeah, fuck, that's a hard one, to be honest. I think the closing remarks would be, buy crypto.
Buy crypto. Okay, no financial advice, but if you're just wondering, yeah, get involved, understand more about the industry. Like I'm always saying, here at these conferences, we're aiming to educate you guys, but also go and do your own research, understand the industry, reach out to our amazing panelists, really believe in the industry, why you're getting involved, and what you see the future being. So thank you so much to the incredible panelists. A huge round of applause.